Save the Semantics, episode 173. It is April 10th, 2022. My name is Myra. This is the podcast where I ramble on for a bit about some shit. I'm recording this a little later than usual. But just found the little pocket of time that I could record, and yeah, man, I'm taking advantage of it because I just wanted to hop on for a bit. It's been a little while since I last recorded. It's been a little wee bit, and yeah, it's been a good week for me. It's been a solid week. Obviously, there are the same ups and downs that usually come every week, but it's solid. I think it's been a solid week. Nothing too crazy. I've had kind of work started to kind of calm down a bit. And yeah, man, it's been solid. I've been trying to. It's been fucking hot these last few days. Like, it's hit 90, so that's been cool, I guess. In April, that's I don't is that concerning? Probably. I mean, there's a lot of things to be concerned about, and I don't know if I really have I don't know if I really want to think about it too much, about just fucking impending doom and shit. But it's something to think about, kind of in the back of your head a little bit. So yeah, today was a little warm. Right now it's kind of cool, pretty gusty and windy, and yeah, super windy out. Just trees and leaves and shit just being knocked all over the place. So yeah, this is also not only is this the premier NBA podcast where you come for stats, advanced analytics and all that, this is also the Weather Channel every 2 weeks. So hopefully that's useful to anybody that's listening. Speaking of basketball, I'll do a little brief basketball NBA kind of discussion. Playoff basketball, it's coming. It's right around the corner, baby. So I'm excited. Tonight's the last night for Warriors basketball. I don't know if it's the last night for Warriors or for the association in general, but let me just double check. I have not been watching games all that often. I just kind of been tuned out, like I've said the last time I recorded. So it is what it is. I think tomorrow. No. Yeah, tonight is the last night for the regular season. And then the play-in tournament starts on Tuesday. So I'm going to try to tune in for those. I think that's going to be exciting. I think that's going to be pretty fun. We got the Cavs and the Nets. I'm going to put my money on the Nets. I think that's a pretty good bet. And then it's going to be the Clippers and the Wolves. That might be a bit tougher, man. That might be a tough one that might be a close matchup. I'm going to go with the Wolves. I feel like they could squeeze it out. I want them to. Like, I've been cheering for them for this past year. I think, like, even from the beginning, I feel I've had my eye on them just because they've been performing pretty well, and this is going to be. I just hope they can make the playoffs. I think it'll be exciting. If they do make it in, they will be facing the Grizzlies, and I think that's a really good matchup for. I think that'll be just like a fun matchup for both teams. So I'm looking forward to that. So hopefully they make it through. You guys got to push, man. You're right there. So yeah. That's that. And then on which day? To scroll all the way down. On Wednesday, we got the Hawks and the Hornets. That could go either way. I think that could really, that's a bit of a coin toss right there. And then Spurs Pelicans. I'm gonna go for the Pelicans. I think they have a good chance for that. The way it's structured is the 9 and 10th teams. Whoever wins that's an elimination game, right? So that's a lot of weight on those teams for the 9 and 10 seeds for both conferences. So that's gotta be exciting, man. It's like the NCAA tournament a little bit, right? One and done. So that puts a lot of pressure on those teams, but exciting for the neutral fan. So I'm gonna try to tune in for that. Yeah, man. I'm looking forward to these. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. Outside of just my regular day-to-day, it's been, it hasn't been really a whole lot. I'm like struggling to think about what exactly I did. I think I have a pretty steady schedule right now. Of course, I am busy and everything. So it's a little hard to try to recall things that I've done. And I also work from home at the moment, which I've talked about. And so I don't really have a ton of like anecdotal experiences to really talk about either. So you're a little limited. So, for anyone out there that's thinking of doing a podcast, do a little something, do something outside of whatever you have going on. No, I mean, I've just sort of, I've stuck to my routine. It's a little hard to break out of those kinds of routines. And my sleep schedule's been, I don't know, it's been decent. I think it's like a good thing to just update on that every time, but just so I can kind of, I don't know, I can sort of keep track of things, but it's been okay. I think I've sort of, at this point at least, I've sort of accepted that I'm not gonna be an early riser at this point in time. Like, it's really hard to kind of shift my waking schedule to get to that point. I wake up, 7:30, between 7:30 and 8 o'clock, sometimes just right at 8 o'clock. And it's really hard to shift from that. I set my alarm for like 6 to 7-ish. And I never get up at that time. Rarely do I ever get up at that time, but those are my aspirations, right? Is to get up early, get shit done early, and not feel in a super shitty mood, which I have been on some mornings. But man, yeah, it's hard to adjust, man. It's really hard to adjust. I think it's work once you have, again, like once you've built up a habit of sorts that you've just kind of had for the last I'd say like a year or so. It's really hard to kind of shift away from that. So yeah, I do want to try to, I do need to just sleep more, you know what I mean? But I try to catch up on things that I wouldn't have at night that I couldn't during the day. So that could be, I don't know, some entertainment, whatever that might be. Mostly been YouTube. Again, I haven't really watched any series. There hasn't really been anything that's really caught my attention, unfortunately. Yeah, man, it's just been hard to commit to shows. It's just that's just been the case for a while now. Obviously, I've talked about this to death, but yeah, it's just been hard to really commit to any shows or movies or anything like that, just because it takes I don't know, it takes some dedication, and I like to respect the media that I consume, which is kind of a weird way to say it, but you know, I want to give it kind of my full attention. Ooh, a little interesting thing, I guess. I've been watching pretty much like today. I've been watching these interview videos on YouTube. There's this guy called Takahashi, and he's out and about in I don't know if it's Tokyo. I think he might have said it was Kyoto. I don't exactly remember, but he's out and about. He interviews people. It's great stuff. I think it's really interesting just hearing, just man on the street type of thing. And he just interviews people about different topics and that sort of thing. Whether it's like discrimination in Japan, what it's like being a foreigner, dating, like that sort of thing. So it's very interesting. The thing I noticed is, and I've talked about this before, not necessarily in regards to like Japan per se, but I've talked about kind of my association with clothing and that sort of thing, and how I've sort of talked about how I lack of a bit of a style, kind of, and I don't feel it's necessarily just me. I don't think I don't want to put all of that onus on me, but it might be kind of a reflection of US clothing, if that makes sense. I don't know. I never just to kind of give a bit of a reprieve or a bit of a brief, recap of sorts. I never really had that much style per se, you've ever since, like, obviously when you're a kid you don't I don't really make the clothing decisions or whatever like that too much, like, of course I picked out clothes that I wanted, but I didn't have like an idea of like what I wanted to look like, what felt or looked good per se, and that's just kind of followed me until adulthood essentially. So I was watching these videos and I was just noticing how everybody was just like, I don't know, it was just sort of they just had a sense of style and everything like that. And I think obviously it's all subjective. Some people might think that logo tees look good, which is fine. I don't have any, if you want to dress like, casual in the American sense, and you feel good about yourself and whatever, then it's cool. Like, I don't really I think just sort of I guess the general sense of style, kind of like more minimalist style clothing, something that isn't super abrasive or anything like that. That's kind of what I like, you know what I mean? And that's sort of what I've liked seeing with how people in Japan dress. And part of it I think has to do with the weather. A lot of the videos that I watched were filmed kind of during the winter or cooler seasons, and I think cooler weather brings out a different type of style in my opinion. I think obviously you can counter that point by pointing out to, like, I don't know, maybe like European countries where it's warmer and people wear stylish, like casual clothing during the summer or hot, in hot weather and everything like that. So you could very much make that argument as well. But I think in terms of style in Japan, I think it's kind of akin to New York. It's sort of like in cold city weather, they wear like sort of black clothing and everything like that. And here in California, it's it's mostly nice weather, so we just don't. I don't know. I think it's just very interesting. I don't know. I'm sure I am sure there's a video about it on YouTube that I could just kind of look up and get an understanding of different styles and different, I guess, cultural trends or whatever, right? But like in terms of like what makes your clothing and what makes your apparel stylish, quote unquote stylish, I just think it's kind of interesting, you know what I mean? Because like coming from someone who doesn't really care that much about fashion, I think it's sort of interesting just seeing these different kind of just clothing standards, whatever you want to call it. Because it's just not something that I'm not super, what is it? I'm not super into clothing. I'm not super passionate about clothing or that sort of thing. I think I do need to update my wardrobe though. I've said this constantly for sure, but it's just not. I'm kind of it's work to go shopping. You know what I mean? It's work to go out and find a thing that kind of looks good on you. And I don't want, I don't know. I don't want that many. I don't want that many clothes. I want it to be kind of concise. I have I don't leave my house too, so that kind of gives me a bit of an advantage, right? In terms of what I want to wear or what I can wear. I kind of just throw on, whatever the fuck. That's sort of presentable in my house, which doesn't really, again, it doesn't really matter that much because I generally don't really, if I do interact with people, it's not usually on camera. So, but if I do have to go out and stuff, it's just limited. So I need to I need to brush up on that. That's just gonna be a constant for me. Is trying to really just get my wardrobe shit down because I just don't have that down per se. I have I have a set of clothes for specific occasions, and it's just the same it's just the same set every time, and I would like to have a little bit of variety. I think that would be nice. And I just got that sort of impression watching these videos. I think they just carry themselves very nicely, and I don't really have that. I think I mean, it's just it's just that cultural difference, I guess. I think, and also the types of clothes that we're able to. I mean, this could be a whole thing, affordability, and just the fact that certain types of clothes are more affordable over here. Like the logo tees that I mentioned, right? Like that's the type of thing that you can get at Walmart or retail stores. So that might be something as well. I don't know. It's there's a lot of things I'm sure that kind of impact clothing and everything like that. So it's all subjective for sure. But I think in my case it would be nice to kind of just get an update on certain things and have just a better sense of like what I kind of want to wear. I think I've gotten better at it for sure. I think I have certain things that do look good, but again, it's something that can be improved for sure. So kind of something to kind of think about there. How much we at? Pretty good time. Yeah, I didn't exercise at all this past week, really. I wish I did. I wish I put in a little more. I wish I ran for at least one of the days, an extra day. And I think it could have been, I don't know. I just feel like whenever I have sort of like an off week, I just feel a little sluggish the next week coming through. But again, I try not to like beat myself up over that. I think it's just not, it's not worth it to, I think it's just not, it was too hot, man. It was like 90 degrees. I wasn't going to run in that weather. Come on, I'm going to spare me that. So just exercise, staying relatively healthy, that sort of thing. Always trying to think about other ways to integrate some stuff. It's hard, just time and everything, timing and, my motivation, energy, it's all that. Just trying to make things better. It's work. It's all work. So I think, I would like to do some more strength based like trainings and stuff, or just like exercises. That's something that I've just sort of like continued to kind of put on my like bucket list of sorts, is trying to like actually lift shit. But we'll see. Again, we'll see. I don't know. I'm relatively decent shape. If I start to feel like things are really starting to like go off the rails, then maybe I'll start to integrate some stuff. But for now, I feel I've kind of maintained my shape for the last few years. But part of me also wants to be like really fit too. I don't know. There's certain things that I think about where it's like I could do that. That could be a lot of work though, and also I also don't want to like jump right into it. I think I have to slowly build that up, and I don't know how committed I am to kind of doing that sort of thing. How committed I am to like staying with a routine. I think I've done a decent job with running, but yeah, I think with starting up a completely new thing is a whole nother beast altogether. So yeah, uh, always kind of thinking about trying to find new ways to exercise and that sort of thing. In terms of music, did I talk? Oh man, did I talk about the Denzel Curry album? Did I talk about that? Give me a second. Okay, so it doesn't look like I talked about it last time. I'll give my kind of my impressions on it. I listened to it during work, as I kind of usually how I've recently listened to music. Actually, no, I first listened to the album just kind of outside of work. I did a full listen through the entire album. I liked it. I thought it was pretty good. And then I gave it some more listens, and now I think it's one of his best albums. I think it's great. I still very much enjoy Taboo. I think that that kind of album came out like the right time for me during college and everything. So I have a bit of a you know soft spot for it. A bit of maybe some, I don't know if you could really call it nostalgia if it's been only like a couple of years, but you have certain moments or whatever, like a certain time is like associated with that. It's just me in college kind of listening to it, and I think uh this is a great album. I really, I think he really delves into a lot of things, just in regards to him growing up, his position in life right now, in his uh he's 20, 26, 27 right now. So he has a much more nuanced and mature takes on certain things, and I think the whole concept of the album is very cool. I think it's just a very interesting, and it feels, the sound of it is so cool, and I don't know how to describe it. I'm not a music reviewer, but it just, everything flows together, so everything melts together so nicely. You see what I did there? It just comes together so um so so just like concisely, um and I just I really enjoyed it. I don't There's not really I feel like I have to listen to that album all the way through, just on every listen, um just because I feel like it really adds to the experience. I think I've listened to Walking a little bit too much, so that might be a skip here and there. But I think the album as a whole is a, no skips. I just listened to it all the way through, and it's a great experience. I think um it's one of my favorite albums that I've listened to this year. I don't really, the way I've been listening to music lately, I hop around ears. Like, I mean, that's not really that crazy of a thing, but I don't I if I find an album that I really like, I sort of put it on kind of like my favorites of this year that I've listened to this year, like say like an album that came out in, I don't know, 2016 or something like that, and I've listened to it for the first time this year, then I would consider it to be like one of my favorite albums this year that I listened to, if that makes sense. Actually give an example. So Ghost, which is one of my favorite bands, who has one of my favorite albums, Meliora, which came out in high school. I have another album that I kind of have a very close association with. They released an album back in 2018 called Imperial. Was it Imperial? Was that what it's called? I should really double check, man. I feel like I listen to certain things and I just don't. I don't even like try to remember the names or things. What the fuck is the album name? Ghost albums prequel. Did I talk about this? Jesus Christ! If I did talk about this, sorry, but this is an album that came out in 2018. I didn't listen to it for. I don't know why I didn't listen to it. I might have just kind of forgotten about it. Maybe I listened to like one song and I just kind of didn't. Maybe it didn't click with me when I first listened to it. But this album, I have listened to at least like 5-6 times all the way through these last like couple of weeks. It's so good. It sounds kind of, it's very different from Meliora. It's like it sounds much more like an Iron Maiden album, if that makes sense. And I love that. I think that's super dope. I love Iron Maiden, and I think it's just a really cool. I just kind of like that sort of like 80s rock sound. I guess if you could put it like that way. And super fun. Every song is, not every song, but most of the songs are super catchy. It's just a really great listen, and the closing track is incredible. I feel like I have to. This is why I've sort of listened to the album all the way through multiple times, is because the ending track is so good that I feel like I have to give it like the respect it deserves by listening to it all the way through. It's just such a fun album. It's so good. And they just released a new album like a month ago, and I was like, fuck, man, I'm sort of like holding off on listening to that because I've been enjoying their last album so much, because I haven't, I just didn't listen to it. So I've sort of been holding that off. I've been kind of putting that on the back burner. But we'll get to it. Maybe it might take another 3 years before I listen to it again, or if I even start to listen to their newest album. But I'm just enjoying the high of this, listening to Prequel for the very first time. It's awesome. So yeah, there's been some good stuff getting thrown around on my Spotify. But yeah, the notable ones are Ghost with Prequel, and Denzel Curry with Melt Your Eyes. Is it Melt Your Eyes? Jesus Christ, dude. Just get the name right. Why can't you? Melt My Eyes. That was a great album, man. That's going to be in my rotation. Probably for a little bit, and then I'm kind of just, on and off with whatever else I have kind of shuffling through my playlist. So once in a while, I'll find some good shit. Some metal band that I've never heard of, or some metal band that's like relatively well known that I just never listened to because I just didn't know about them. So yeah, man, it's a lot of good shit. I think I've enjoyed what I've listened to so far this year. Oh yeah, also the Dreamville mixtape, that was a lot of fun too. There's this one song, Hair Salon, that I've been listening to a bunch this last week. That's been fucking great. So yeah, so a lot of good stuff out there. I guess if you want to check it out, those are the recommendations, and I guess we'll end it with that. This has been Save the Semantics, signing off.